was the head? This was the question on everyone's mind in my town. My tiny town, the town of Old Glenville. Old Glenville was just a little slice of regular Glenville. The differentiation was never explained to me, nor did I care to have it explained to me. All I knew was it was Friday, and there was more than a decent chance I was going to lose my virginity tonight. Tonight, baby, was the night. Sure, a body had been discovered in the middle of Elmer Street without a head that had spun the entire town into a panic, but that was no reason to focus on the fact that I awoke this morning a boy, and I would awake tomorrow morning a man. Priorities, the foundation of a healthy life. I had been dating Tara for nearly 3 months, and the last time we hung out, which was exactly 48 hours ago, she had stopped me mid-dry hump and whispered that she wanted to wait until her birthday. Her 18th birthday. To, well, you know. Yes, I said, out loud, I think. Let's wait for your birthday. Originally, I thought it would happen at prom, but she told me she wanted to do it before prom because prom was going to be crazy. Everyone was going to be drunk, and we were all going to this fancy hotel afterwards, and she didn't want to lose her virginity in some hotel, even if the hotel was fancy. The fanciest, I should say. I had it booked a month ago thinking that the romantic environment would lead to sexual, well, you know. I loved Tara. Truly. She was beyond hot, at least in my eyes. She had a great laugh, the kind of laugh where her whole body would vibrate, and that would make me laugh. Her energy was contagious. She was always in a good mood, or at least a better mood than me. What made her really hot, though, was that she had no idea how hot she was. She was kind of a tomboy. She played softball, and she was good, like really good. She was going to get a scholarship level good. So she didn't dress up. She dressed down. But her body, Lord have mercy. The fact that she seemed almost embarrassed to show it off. There was nothing hotter to me than humility. It was as if her hotness was a secret. Our own dirty secret. Good Lord. The first time we went to the beach together, she showed off her body. Her beach body. I nearly melted in the sand. Her previous exploration south of the border was with Freddie Bowman. He was a dickhead jock who had gotten drunk with her at a lacrosse party, and then they had fooled around unbeknownst to everyone else at the party until the next day. The next day, everyone knows everything. That's the way of high school. She was embarrassed. They had not gone all the way, but enough happened that she didn't want her special moment to be ruined by booze or ugly surroundings. He ignored her. Fully. She wasn't even sure if he had remembered, she told me once. If Freddie Bowman wasn't bigger than me and didn't have friends who were bigger than my friends and didn't have way more money than me, I would almost definitely, maybe, have beaten the hell out of him for mistreating Tara. Not that we were together at the time. We barely knew each other. Her best friend was friends with one of my friends. Then that best friend started dating my friend, and before we knew it, we were alone on a couch in the basement of Christian's house. We just talked. I repeat, we just talked. You pussy! This was the common response from my friends after hearing we had just talked. If I was you, man, followed by a wide variety of sexual activities that my friends suggested that they would have participated in with Tara had they been alone with her in the basement. Thankfully, I was sober. Had I not been sober, I would have made a move. A poorly executed, sloppy move. And she would have probably let me kiss her. I repeat, let me kiss her. This should not be confused with kissing her, which is what we did on our third date. We had just seen Cruel Intentions, which, to my money, is the greatest date movie ever conceived. Hot people doing hot things. The whole thing is a tease. When Bittersweet Symphony started playing, my heart nearly shot out of my chest. I had been preparing to kiss her all night and then nearly puked from anxiety when I was about to do it. I was sober. Making a move sober after never making a move sober is like going from automatic to stick shift while driving on the highway. But I did. Eureka! And it was hot, baby. Tara was a good kisser. Generous. I can't say I was when we first met. Too much tongue. My head was always on the right side, and the tent in my pants would be nearly poking my eye out. I was too excited. That's what I mean. Tara made me understand that when you like someone, you want to take your time. It's not about you. It's about them. It's about you both, together. This was something I had never felt before. My previous hookup, Wendy Atherton, did not make me feel this way. We had gotten drunk and then made out in the back of my car. It was sloppy. Like Reese Witherspoon and Mark Wahlberg making out in Fear level sloppy. I was basically trying to dry hump her as she bit the side of my neck, and after 3 minutes I stopped because, well, I had finished, if you catch my drift. It was hard to play coy since there was now a Hudson River-shaped stain all along my jeans. "Sorry," I said. "It's okay." The way she said okay made me think this was not the first time this exact thing had happened to her. More than once. It was as if someone had asked to borrow her ketchup while sitting at a diner booth. The plight of women, I thought, while dropping her off, only to walk into school the next day greeted by multiple friends describing in detail my very brief moment of bliss with Wendy that had now been spread across the high school airwaves. Tara was different. I assumed she told her best friend everything she did, but our exploits of lust would never make their way back to me. They felt like ours, and only ours. Did I tell my best friend Joe about me rounding second base with Tara while we were hanging out at the lake? Of course. I'm not a nun. You gotta tell one person to make it real, right? Joe did what all male best friends would do after being privy to this intel. He called me a pussy for being a virgin and then hung up. Let me repeat. I love this freaking girl. We would all be going to our separate colleges in approximately 3 months, and it was just a matter of time until she realized she was way too cool for me and dumped me for the president of a habitat community who also happened to play point guard for the Memphis Grizzlies. I was way out of her future league. Our time to connect was now, before this dawned on her the way it had dawned on me every time I heard her laugh. Tonight, baby. Tonight was the night. I can't tonight. I felt like Scatman Crothers after Jack Nicholson drives an axe into his heart in The Shining. Tara's words echoed through my soul and into the dark abyss. Why? I asked, trying to play it cool even though her voice on the telephone gave me a boner the size of a tripod. My parents are freaking out. They said the town is going to be on lockdown. They're not letting me or my sister do anything tonight. I'm sorry. I had rented a cabin. Well, not a cabin. It was basically a room in the woods. It was an hour drive upstate. Remember when I had rounded second on Tara by the lake? That was for a party that her best friend and my friend had thrown for her best friend's 18th birthday. It was chaperoned by several parents who did let us drink. Responsibly. I'm air quoting. There was 20 of us all together. The cabin was huge. On these compounds were rooms you could rent. They were not cheap, but for Tara, worth every penny. "Can you cancel the cabin?" she asked. "I'm not worried about the cabin. I just wanted to see you." "I know," she said. I could tell she felt bad. I was begging my boner to take a knee, but he was standing at full attention singing the national anthem. "Maybe next weekend?" Next weekend was the weekend before prom. This was the weekend everyone had been saving to do work. Actual work. When all the seniors studied for finals and finished off any other extracurricular activities, even teachers planned for this. They had one foot out the door for the summer. Work weekend was unofficially an official thing at this point. After work weekend, it was prom weekend, and then we were graduating. The odds of our collective parents letting us go away during work weekend were slim. "We don't have to go away," I told her. "What if we just went out for dinner?" "My mom is freaking out. I mean, the guy didn't have a head?" "We don't know that," I told her, aiming to be reassuring. "That's people overreacting." "No, My cousin said he didn't have a head. It's real." Her cousin was a cop. Her cousin was also the nephew of her mom, who had no doubt given her the skinny on this mysterious death, which had ended with someone being left in the middle of Elmer Street without a head. Old Glenville was not exactly a people being left somewhere without a head type of town. It was quaint, breezy, literally. It was a beach town that became swamped during the summer with tourists and vacationers. Everyone had a head in our town. They had discovered the body this morning and then promptly canceled school. All the kids stayed home and watched the local news like hawks. It had swiftly gone from local to more than local news. The closest city was more than 40 miles away. Murder was not an impossibility in the city. You could fathom a murder in the city. Rare, but fathomable. Old Glenville? Hell no. Elmer was the same street where both the mayor and the chief of police lived. It was the highest of the high-class streets. They even had their own little security guard posted at the four-way intersection that blocked it off from the rest of Old Glenville. Cliff. Until this morning, it seemed like the cushiest job in town. Security for what, exactly? You didn't have to do shit. Anytime we drove by Cliff, the security guard, we would envy his job. He must have known someone high up to land that gig. Lucky bastard. Neighbors, including my buddy Christian, who just so happened to be a high-classer himself, was questioned, along with his family, about their whereabouts and activities the previous night. Christian, the son of a lucky gun that he is, was getting lucky last night, a fact verified by his girlfriend. I would kill to be able to use getting lucky as an alibi. Cliff, the security guard, told the cops he had not seen any cars drive through during the middle of the night. There was no large ground of woods along the perimeter. Seemingly, the body had to have been dropped off by someone who had lived on that street. Otherwise, it didn't make logical sense for them to have emerged from nowhere without being seen, and then drop off a headless body in the middle of a suburban road. 2 + 2 equaled anything but 4. It was a gossip orgy all day. Joe had thoughts. Joe always had thoughts. He was rife with conspiracies. He was convinced that our art teacher, Mr. Kilbourne, was a Satanist. He said he once heard Mr. Kilbourne humming to himself in the bathroom and the hums were Latin. How could a hum be Latin, I asked him. He did what all best friends do in that moment. He called me a pussy and punched me in the arm. Joe called me in the morning and told me his theory. The cops had chopped the head off a homeless guy and left it there so they could get more money when the new budget is proposed. There was some recent backlash against the cops after they had busted up a keg party and broken the arm of our star point guard after he, quote, failed to comply. It was not a good look for our police department, or our town, or our high school's basketball team. We lost, by the way, against Rye. They crushed us. People were pissed at the cops. The townsfolk wanted cutbacks. This was Joe's theory. Joe was hyped up on coffee because I could hear his lips smacking every time he took a sip. I told Joe to scale back on the coffee. He farted into the phone and hung up. Do they know who the body is? My grammar no longer made sense. The crushing disappointment was now negatively affecting my speech patterns while I spoke to Tara. They don't know. His pockets were empty. They tried running fingerprints, but apparently he didn't have any. His fingers were burnt off. It's insane. Don't tell anyone I told you this. I'm not supposed to know. Promise? I promise. I just wanted to see you tonight. I know, she said, but my parents are so freaked out. They're leaving work early tonight so they can be home with us for dinner. Remember when Chaz Palminteri realized it was Kevin Spacey in The Usual Suspects? That was this times 1,000. Tara was home alone? You shouldn't be alone, Tara. I thought your parents were home. I'm not. My sister is here. Right, but she's small? I said small as a question, as if my body was buffering. My boner was no longer incognito, and I was pacing around my bedroom in a whirlwind of horniness. I didn't want to be too obvious. But she's going to work soon? Her pause was deafening. I think I blacked out halfway through the How soon could you get here? 11 seconds. I didn't say that out loud. What I said out loud, trying to remain cool and not like a horny asshole, was, I could be there in an hour, if that's cool. There was another pause. Had I died? Was this what death sounded like? Nothing? Okay, she said. Come over at 4, but you have to leave by 6. She hung up. No goodbye. She always said goodbye. It was one of those top 75 reasons I loved her. Maybe she was in a rush. Maybe she had to get ready. Maybe she had to get ready for, well, you know. Not a chance in hell. Why not, Ma? Why not? They found a body without a head. Exactly. This is the safest time to go out. Are you out of your skull, Broey? You're not going nowhere. My mom was cooler than me. This was without debate. Everyone knew it. Even my ex-girlfriends knew it. Anytime I introduced a girlfriend to my mom, they would immediately fall in love with her. She made me at least 25% cooler. Every ex inevitably would tell me they loved her the moment we were alone away from her, and then I would follow up with my standard, yeah, she's cooler than me. Without fail, they would all agree, except for Tara. Tara said, quote, I think you're cool. With all due respect to my future wife, or wives, you will never say anything better to me than Tara telling me that I was cool. I don't know what the hell the Red Sea is, but it parted when she said that to me. Doves flew and I saw rainbows. This, along with my boner, was the reason I wanted to see Tara so bad tonight. She made me feel cool. And now, the only thing blocking me from her was my ma. Tara is scared. She wants me to come over for an hour. She's alone. Her cousin is a cop, right? Yeah, so? So, Broey, Tara is fine, okay? The only way she wouldn't be fine would be if she went outside. I'm telling you exactly what her parents are telling her right now, which is, stay inside. We lived above the bar that my parents owned. It was pretty small, a town staple. He had gotten it from his dad, my grandpa. Now my dad ran it. He cooked on Thursdays and Sundays. His chicken parm was exceptional. Try it if you don't believe me. My mom was his right-hand man. She was the server who knew everyone. Even if she didn't know you, she knew you. She was welcoming and fun. If it was your first time, she would make sure you had a second time. Taking a girl to a bar that your parents owned? Money in the bank. Yet, in this moment, I felt as broke as Six-Pack Jack, the local hobo who lived in our woods and claimed that he was trying to find Willy Wonka. To rub worse matters into my face, I was now alone in the house. My parents' bar was packed this afternoon. No place better to let your gossip lips run wild than your local bar. All the regulars were coming today to talk about what they heard, who they know, what they saw, where they were when they heard what they saw that they knew. My dad decided to do some impromptu cooking. New England clam chowder, another one of his delicacies. And by another, I mean one of 3. Hot gossip and hot clam chowder? No better combo when there's a homicidal maniac on the loose in your town. The clock was ticking. Each tick was a lashing against my manhood, the dawn of a new era, an era in which I would no longer be standing with my back against the wall amongst the boys. I would be standing proudly with my chest held high amongst the men. The loss of virginity. It was now 3:33. Tara's house was approximately 14 minutes away. I was doing jumping jacks inside my brain. How the hell do I get out of here? How could my mother be so blind to the parameters of my situation? She was a cool mom. She understood. Well, I thought she did. Broey, can you order a pizza? My sister, Becky, she was 13. As if that wasn't bad enough, she was also hungry. Why can't you order it? I'm scared, she said, laughing at her insecurity. Scared to order a pizza? Scared to have someone come to our door, she insisted. Becky, you really think the killer works for Angelo's Pizzeria? They can't even make a decent calzone. That was a good joke. Becky should have laughed. She didn't. Hence I got the humor in our family. But we can deal with that later, I thought. Becky, I'll order the pizza, on one condition. What? She asked. You don't tell Mom and Dad that I went out for 2 hours. You're leaving? My bedroom window glass nearly shattered as she spoke. Can you not shout, please? Broey, there's a killer on the loose. Okay, First of all, there's 50,000 people in our town. You know what the odds are that they would come to our house to murder us? 1 in 50,000? Becky said. Bingo, Becky. And 2, we live above a bar that is currently packed with people. You couldn't be safer if you tried. Broy, you can't leave, please. Becky, dear sweet sister, you don't understand now, but one day you will. You'll have a boyfriend who will love you very much, and I have a boyfriend. You do? Ricky DiPola. Oh, nice. I like Ricky. Thanks. The point is, I love Tara, and as her boyfriend, I need to go protect her, and then I will return with pizza. I put on my winter coat, grabbed the bottle of Tommy Hilfiger cologne, and barged towards our desperately need some WD-40 front door. Broy, wait! I turned, my new scarf whisking around my neck and now itching my chin. Yes? Becky paused and said, Pepperoni? You got it, Becky. I winked and walked out the door towards the rest of my life. The engine started. Thank God. In the cold, it can be a little dicey, but I had to let it warm up. Son of a bitch. Now it was 3:41. 2 minutes. I'll give it a 2-minute warm-up, and then I'll still get to Tara's by 4, which will give us 2 full hours to, well, you know. I counted down from 120, and as soon as my beautiful 2002 Chevy Suburban, which my mom and dad had bought off one of their local patrons, started up, I headed straight for the, oh my God, my dad is standing in front of my car smoking a cigarette. Son of a bitch! I was suddenly dropped into an Ennio Morricone movie. The cigarette smoke whirling over his black and peppered hair as he stood there in only a t-shirt and jeans. It was damn near 20 degrees outside. My dad was barely flinching. He dropped his cigarette into the ground, smushed it, and walked over to the driver's side window as I rolled it down. Going somewhere, broy? Father, you know I would never disrespect you or Mom. This wasn't true. In fact, the previous weekend I had snuck out around midnight to go drop off a love letter into Tara's mailbox that had Polaroids from our weekend at the lake, but in the face of horniness, a lie becomes the truth. Where was I? Oh, right. Father, you know I would never disrespect you or Mom, but Tara is home alone right now, and it is my duty. I stopped myself. I could feel my dad's glare burning a hole through my skull, like he was Zod in Superman 2. For my money, the best superhero movie ever made. It hit me, like a ground ball right up the middle into my nuts. It hit me. My dad and Mom were high school sweethearts. Why would I lie to my dad? If there was one person in this entire world who could sympathize with the weight of my moment, it was my dad. So I looked him dead in the eye, squinted a little for dramatic effect, and said, Tara wants to have sex. Neither of us have ever had sex. We are going to have sex together. There it was, naked as the day is long. I'd come clean to my dad. My dad, who at one point in time was me, a high school boy in love with a high school girl. The most sincere moment we had ever shared together. A defining moment in our relationship, father, son, as one. He paused, looked away, turned back to me and said, Wear a rubber. I peeled out of the driveway like Gene Hackman in The French Connection. Tara's house was approximately 16 minutes away. I would get there in 13 by the power of love. And then, snow began to fall. Hard, as if the clouds were puking. I could barely see. On a normal day, I'd be doing 30 miles per hour through town. On a day in which I'd be losing my virginity, I'd be doing 90 miles per hour, but my windshield wipers could barely keep up. I was doing barely 20 miles per hour. Other drivers were pulling off to the side of the road, not I. My primal instincts had kicked in, and although it was just a machine, in this moment I believed that me and my 2002 Chevy Suburban were one. My steady beast would not let me down. A brief skid here, a near crash into a stop sign there. I was determined, beyond determined. Even as the snow seemed to magnify. A lot. As in, good Lord, is this even snow? No, this was no ordinary snow. This was God and the devil teaming up to keep me away from my dear sweet Tara. It was as if my mechanical beast of a Suburban was being pelted by snowballs from seemingly every direction. I couldn't even remember the last time it snowed in my town. It was a quiet beach town. We didn't get snow, ever. The cold chill that had swept through the past week was unheard of. People were buying jackets with sleeves. It was bizarre. Almost as bizarre as this damn snow. Son of a bitch, I yelled while nearly skidding into a sewer. I wiped manually against my windshield as my steady Chevy wiped from the outside. Scientific proof that God did not exist was unfolding before me. If there was a God, she would part the white snow and allow me to clear a path to my dear, sweet Tara. But alas, this was not the case. It was now 4:12. 12 minutes of the passionate lovemaking the world had ever known was already lost into the black ether. To live amongst the ghouls. I continued, making a right at Delavan Avenue, the very street where my best friend Joe lived. As I passed by his house, I saw him outside, shoveling a path from his front door to his mother's car. I honked and pointed. He was holding something up. A sign. It said, "Pussy." Had he been carrying that around all day? Now is not the time for answers. Now is the time for making sweet, sweet love to my sweet, sweet Tara. The Bourbon chugged up Delavan Avenue and then made a left onto Peepers Hollow Road. I was 5 minutes away. It was now 4:18. Peepers Hollow was a windy street down a long hill that opened up into a dead end on one side and a quick left turn onto Prospect Street, aka Tara Street. The dead end was notorious around my town. Every town has the one house drowning in folklore. The one house you tell your friends is haunted. The one house you avoid on Halloween. This was that house. It had been boarded up for over a year now. After half of it had burned down and the other half was condemned, nobody knew why it burned down. There were stories. All kinds of stories. But all I knew was that it had burned down under mysterious circumstances and there were no bodies found inside. The owner had skipped town. At least, that's what the cops and the newspapers told us. We stayed away. We all stayed away. I drove. There were cars along each side of the street as my Bourbon delicately played a game of Jenga, trying not to skid and crash into any one of the now covered in satanic snow cars to the right and left of me. Me and Chevy became one. I was no longer Ray Charles. My Suburban was no longer a piano. We had become one. I floated majestically down the hill, right through the middle. Bullseye. There were no more hills, just a left turn onto Terrace Street, and then my car stalled out. I tried to rev the engine. Nothing. I tried again. Nothing. I tried a third time. Nothing. My steady horse had galloped until its last dying breath. The rest of the journey would have to be on my own. I rubbed the steering wheel, then kissed the dashboard. "Thank you, Bourbon," I whispered. I would have to go on foot from here. It was 4:28. By foot, I could make it in 7 minutes. That would give me approximately... It was him. Standing in the middle of the road, aimed right at me. It was him. The figure in black stood under the white snow, breathing death. I knew it was him. The same way you know you love someone just by staring into their eyes. It was him. The road was desolate, not a car in sight. The snow was so heavy I couldn't even see the houses to either side of me. I could not see his face, but he was tall and wide, wearing all black that seemed to swallow him. The black hoodie draped over his skin. I could only see his white, pale chin invading his mouth, his caustic, smiling mouth, revealing yellow, blood-stained teeth. He reached behind him and showed me the axe. He raised it. I locked my doors, my cold breath fogging up my windshield. I wiped, frantically, wiping. He moved closer. I didn't see him move closer, but he was closer now, as if he was gliding through the icy snow. From 50 feet to 40 feet, he was closer. I could see more of his smile now, his wretched smile. He seemed to get bigger as he got closer. The grip on his axe became tighter. His breath turned black, like smoke rising from the ashes. I wiped against my windshield with my elbow, trying to keep him locked into my sight, but then he was gone. A loud thump on top of my car. He was above me, standing. I couldn't tell exactly where he was. The thumps jumped from back to front to back. I tilted down, staring up, waiting, dreading. My breath had become rapid. My vision had become foggy. All the windows had fogged up, as if I was sitting inside of a sauna. The world around me had disappeared. The passenger side window burst open by his axe. Glass shot all over my dashboard. I sprang up against the driver's side window. The figure jumped down and opened the passenger side door. He poked his head inside and smiled. I sprayed him in his coal black eyes with my Tommy Hilfiger cologne. He shrieked, covering his eyes, dropping his axe. I ran. I could barely see. Guided by the power of love, I ran to the end of Peepers Hollow Road as the blinding snow stabbed me from all sides. I trudged up and down, each new step harder than the last, as my boots sunk deeper and deeper into the satanic snow. As I got to the end of the street, I felt a sharp pain into my left thigh. I screamed and then dropped to the ground. I rolled over and looked. A ninja star had sliced its way into my left thigh. It was engraved with a skull. I pulled it out, and as I held it high, I could see the figure in black moving towards me. It was then that I heard the sound of salvation, honking. I looked up. It was Joe. Eureka, I thought. Joe! I yelled out. He rolled down his window and stuck out his head, looking down at me. Joe, you gotta help me, bro. You got to help me. Joe shook his head at me. What a Joe's head snapped off his body, and it rolled right to me. Joe's decapitated head was now staring me in the face. The figure in black raised his axe, swung it down, and then I held up Joe's decapitated head to block his swing. The axe was now stuck into Joe's decapitated face. Millimeter by millimeter, the axe was slowly sawing through. I picked up the ninja star and threw it into the eye of the killer. He screamed. He dropped his axe. I dropped Joe's decapitated head. I stood up as the figure in black fell backwards. I rolled over, picked up his axe, and then turned, ready to end the life of this pure force of evil. When I turned, they were gone. I stood up, slowly, looked around, and could not see them. I could not see much of anything. So I did the one thing I could do in this moment. Run to Tara's house. As I galloped along, a small trail of blood trickled behind me. I could now see her house at the end of the street. I tried to yell out, but the cold, bitter wind had choked my throat. I could barely muster a sound as the gash in my thigh expanded. Her house was now 50 feet away. I charged, ran, dashed, through the snow and onto Tara's Love we go. Just as I had reached her driveway, I stopped, turning around. It was there. I felt it, standing in the middle of this empty white road, a stream of blood swimming down their eye along their cheek, dripping onto the snow. I could not live with myself if I ran. The beast was on Tara's street. What if the beast attacked Tara? No. This was ending now. So I did what all heroes do in a final battle. I took out a cigarette I had been saving to use for after I had sex for the first time, lit it, and then calmly said, "Bust a move, bitch." The figure charged at me. I charged at the figure. I could see him holding out a jagged knife. He swung it down at me. I blocked it with his own axe. He swung again, wildly. His vision was off. He was not guided by instincts or logic. He was guided only by rage. Deep, dark rage. He continued swinging, and with each wild swing I blocked him, as he gradually began to lose momentum. He was growing tired. Nobody has more energy than a high school senior. I could chug a 30-pack on a Sunday night and wake up fresh on a Monday morning. Nature's law, I thought. Take it up with the man upstairs. His black breath began to slow. He fell to one knee, slipping. I sliced the front of his shoulder. He screamed. The scream was visceral, painful. The sound slithered through my ears. Grasping at the fresh wound, he had dropped his knife. I picked it up and tucked it in my back pocket. He stood up, as the black hood was now flailing in the cold white wind. I could see his face, or what was left of it. His right eye socket was filled with blood and mucus. His jagged yellow teeth were now drowning in blood. He continued to swing his arms, and then he fell again, this time hitting his head into the frozen ice. He tried to get up, but was slow, dazed. Finally, he rose to his knees. He could hardly breathe. He sat there for a moment, and then looked up at me. It was at this exact moment that the snow stopped falling. The skies cleared. We locked eyes. The beast smiled and said, "This is no longer your world." I took a beat, one more drag from my cigarette, looked him dead in his dead eyes and said, "I'm gonna go have sex." With every fiber of my being, I swung his own axe down through his neck. His body flew off onto the frozen ice and slid right into the sewer drain as a small river of blood began to flow down the road. I dropped the axe, turned to Tara's house, ran up to her front door, rang the doorbell. She opened it. We locked eyes. I smiled. She opened her mouth and said, "I think we should break up."